again is very, very boring. But what's happening is
But if we have really bad inflation, won't everybody's mortgage be worth less? I mean, you know, they'll owe less money.
Try that one. Go to your building society and say, actually, do I owe you less now?
Well, it'll be the same number, but each pound will have less power.
Yeah, yeah, it will. But who's profiting and who's losing from it?
OK, we're going to go for another break now. Once again, if you'd like to text to your questions or comments for Mark Cocking, why not do so now? See you very soon. Welcome back to On the Edge with me, Theo Chalmers, and my special guest, Mark Cocking, who hopefully I can get his name right this time. Mark, so let's go back to some... There's been loads and loads of texts coming in. Here's Jack in Plymouth. He says the aliens have the gold in exchange for technology.
Yeah?
What do you think?
Is that right? God, hang on. Is it just in case, you know? I'll put my helmet on, all right? No, they do this. They do this. No, I don't mean to sort of take the mick too much. It's...
But you had prepared it, hadn't you?
I had prepared. I had to use this. You know, that's what my sarnies were in earlier. It's one of those things... I can't answer that question. I mean, anything's possible. When you do get involved in this and you sort of pursue the research... I hate to say it to any of the people out there who are not familiar with the UFO and the conspiracy side and all that, but yes, there is definitely a tie to something, and it has something to do with aliens and so on, but my point I keep making
So what are you saying
is
then
irrelevant.
about aliens?
What am I saying?
Yeah, what are you saying about... You know, I mean, OK, I mean, this has nothing to do with banking, but... You've been researching esoteric and occult knowledge for 24 years. You know, do you think that our planet has aliens visiting it, living on it, living with us?
It's so clear that if you look back in history, there's so many references to this sort of thing. It's quite plainly arguable that humanity was created by alien intervention, that we are in fact created at least partly in their image, and so on and so forth.
And well, this is Zechariah Sitchin and people like this, isn't it? And
yeah, but I mean...
Lloyd Pye and...
That's it. But then the conspiracy theorists will jump in and say, well, Zechariah Sitchin, his last book was encouraged by the Pope and all this sort of thing, that they're trying to build this mythology and rewrite history.
Well, the Catholic Church has recently declared that the existence of aliens wouldn't affect the truthfulness of the Catholic faith.
I don't mean to upset anyone by putting a tinfoil helmet on. Actually, that's to protect me against the real paranoid theorists who are out there. Yes, there's obviously some sort of, let's say, above government knowledge. And there is a lot more I could say about it, but you've had people like, well, Nick Pope, many others will talk about this. At the end of the day, the evidence stacks up to suggest quite clearly that there's an awful lot of lies being told about human history and human genesis. The whole thing is largely made up. Many of the religions are based around this lie, but it is coming down. It is coming down. So whoever is controlling stuff and whatever they are actually doing, and I have likened it to farming the human population, because one thing is provable.
Yeah, it is on your Facebook site.
Yeah, we are being farmed. It's a word I like to use. Our assets and the planet are being farmed by somebody up there. This goes through the elite banking families, and if one of them wants to come on and tell us who actually sits at the top of the pyramid, it may or may not be alien. But if you ask 100 people, do you believe in aliens, and try it sometime, oh, sorry, do you believe we're alone? 99 of them will say no. I mean,
it's not so extreme, really.
Yeah, but then if you suggest, well, hang on then, if these ETs do exist, and they're in advance of us, clearly by definition, are they dense enough to not have come to Earth before the human race evolved to the state it is now? Or are they going to wait until we all, you know, until today and then come tomorrow, where we could actually do something about it? they've been here all along, is what the story seems to suggest. And if you want to go and research it, you will find that every aspect of research backs that. It doesn't prove it. It backs it. And no element of research actually undermines that argument.
Well, there is some scientific evidence, isn't there? I mean, I read a book by Lloyd Poyer called Everything You Know Is Wrong, where he talks about the number of chromosomes we've got, which differs from apes. Yeah. That we're supposed to have been descended from a common line with.
Yeah. When I worked in the financial industry, I wrote a paper once about the Human Genome Project when it was just being discussed for the insurance industry, just as a matter of interest, really. It wasn't as a guide paper or anything. And it was pointing out that, in fact, the Human Genome Project is going to undermine the entire basis of the insurance industry. Everyone I showed that to was like, the Human Genome Project, what's that? Duh. Now, we've already seen the effect that that's had. But what they discovered in that project is that 2 of the chromosomes have been fused. Now...
So we've got 1 fewer. We've got like 2 stuck together so that perhaps... Yeah. And the theory in that book I read that I was telling you about was that that meant that we could then breed with an alien species that had 1 fewer chromosome.
Yeah, or it could mean lots of other things. I mean, we couldn't actually claim to know, but the fact is those chromosomes have been fused. And the corresponding fact is the only way that we can ever imagine that being possible is through genetic engineering. And then you can study your historical documents, the Bible, all sorts of things, talk about the very creation of humankind.
So maybe there was an Adam and Eve then?
Maybe there was. Maybe they were bankers. Who knows? You know, I would love... I could sit here and spout off about what I think it is, but it is all irrelevant because you can go on forever. People get paranoid about this. You've got your New World warriors out, New World Order, anti-New World Order warriors out there who are trying to pick on people who are in the public eye speaking about this sort of thing and just causing even more confusion. Yes, you can research this. Yes, there's something going on. There's a great guy called William Cooper, who anyone who does conspiracy research of any sort will have come across. He was very clear on what he thought was going on. And this was a military man who saw lots and had an awful lot to say and was murdered for his efforts. Lots of serious people talk about ET intervention. The point I make is whether they're lizards, whether they're fluffy bunnies, it doesn't matter what they are, the control comes down to this umbilical where we are being sucked dry by the issuance of the currency as a debt. Okay, so we can snip that.
Vicky in Blythe says, how long did the leaders of the country know this was going to happen? I assume she means, you know, that the Bank of England would be privately owned or the money would be issued as debt before it did happen. And could they have stopped it happening?
Yes. I mean, I've spoken to my MP, and again, it's not about names. I went to see my MP and said, in quite simple terms, you must realise that there is a conspiracy going on here, and it's you who's paid, you the MP, who is paid to represent us, the people, and you should be asking these questions, and you should be asking Gordon Brown to stop the Bank of England issuing the currency as a debt. Now,
but wouldn't he then be putting not only his job and
of course he would
on the line, but wouldn't he also be putting a little bit more on the line? I mean, there is some real risk here.
Of course there is, but at the end of the day, that's what they're there to do. We don't have to go into the realms of ET and all this kind of thing, because, you know, and if you do, your MP will think you're crazy anyway. You don't have to go there. But, pardon me, but you can question them and say, how can you allow a private group of individuals to suck our financial system dry, our assets, everything? And my particular MP confirmed. He says, yes, I couldn't agree with you more, he said. The entire system is controlled by sharks and vagabonds and so on. And I pointed out that they're not just sharks and vagabonds, they are actually criminals, and that this is a conspiracy, and that if he, being paid to represent us, doesn't do this, then we, the people, are going to do it. And we're going to come back to you and ask you why you didn't back us.
But was your MP, and perhaps you shouldn't name him,